The federal government and some United Nations organizations have pledged to sustain the fight against corruption to achieve meaningful growth in Nigeria. The federal government, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime (UNODC), and UN Women collectively made the pledge in Abuja at a high-level workshop. The workshop, entitled Gender Dimension of Anti-Corruption in Nigeria, is holding against the backdrop of the 2021 16th Day of Activism to End Gender-Based Violence. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, represented by Mrs. Miriam Uwais, Special Advisor, Social Investments in the Presidency, Office of the Vice President, in his keynote address, described corruption as a major hindrance to Nigeria's growth.
For highlighting the issue of gender as a timely and most pertinent topic as we explore and interrogate the avenues for enhancing efforts in battling corruption, not only in Nigeria but the world in general. It is preaching to the converted in this audience for me to even speak about how corruption, as a hydra-headed monster, has undermined the very fabric of our society. Corruption continues to constitute a serious threat to good governance, rule of law, peace and security, and in particular developmental programs aimed at tackling poverty and socioeconomic vulnerabilities. Funds that could have been invested in and utilized to reduce poverty and facilitate the attainment of the SDGs by addressing our poor human capital indices are diverted to serve the vested interests of a greedy and selfish minority. To compound matters, corruption deprives access to basic services sorely needed in a country like ours. To combat this menace, this administration, through the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, has rolled out several measures, amongst which are conducting regular, experience-based anti-corruption surveys.
Similarly, the representative of UN Women, Ms. Comfort Lamte, said that the subject of anti-corruption was very critical for the realization of Nigeria's development aspiration.
The disproportionate effect of corruption further deepens gender inequality, and women are oftentimes quite vulnerable to the effects of corruption. The findings from the Gender and Corruption in Nigeria report, which UNODC released in December 2020, reveal that 41% of respondents, both women and men, perceive body currency, the exchange of sexual favors in return for preferential treatment, as something that happens very frequently in Nigeria, and almost 30% think it happens fairly frequently. 30% of respondents indicated that they would feel uncomfortable relating this. And sexual exploitation, also known as sextortion, occurs at the intersection of corruption on the one hand and gender-based violence in the form of sexual harassment.
The executive chairman of EFCC, Mr. Abdul Rashid Bawa, represented by Mrs. Hadiza Zubairu, chief of staff to the executive chairman of EFCC, expressed the commission's resolve to stem corruption, a major impediment to national growth.
No nation be considered itself through discrimination and marginalization of any gender. Men and women are created to work in complementary roles to each other and none can function effectively without the other. It is therefore only by including women, encouraging and ensuring that they work to contribute to economic growth and development that total development can be achieved. This therefore calls for deconstruction and reorientation of our mindsets. We need a more collaborative system for women to foster and for the society to thrive and be free for economic and financial crimes, as corruption is neither masculine nor feminine, but a byproduct of an opportunity.
Dr. Olive Slope, representative of UNODC Nigeria, attributed data garnered for the reports on gender and corruption in Nigeria to the efforts of the organization and the National Bureau of Statistics.
Both times, around 33,000 people were interviewed, and there was a large set of basically questions. There was a household survey that was conducted, large set of questions, essentially trying to get to the bottom of the experiences of average Nigerians interacting with various state institutions. So these two large data samples were then put under a specific gender analysis, and that was done in 2020, and that is the results of that gender analysis I'm now showing you. Because what we really tried to get to the bottom to is how does corruption affect and involve women and men differently in the country.
The events attracted stakeholders from various government MDAs, the diplomatic community, and civil society organizations.